All right, everybody, welcome to the Baking Steel Studio. I'm Andres, live from Grand Rapids. Today, we are making New York style pizza dough. It's a brand new recipe. It rocks. We're dropping it live right here. And then we're gonna do a two-part. We're gonna make the dough, then we're making pizza. And I'm gonna be giving away this organic tomato from Bianco di Napoli, an 8-pack. This stuff is phenomenal. It's great. It's like in these foil packs, so you don't need to make your tomatoes. It's really simple and delicious. Comes in really handy for pizza nights, and you're not sacrificing anything with quality or flavor. This is the real deal. I love this stuff. We're going to use this on the second part of this class. And we're going to answer all of your questions throughout. I'm going to do this in two parts. First, I'm going to make dough, our new New York dough recipe. We're going to send all this stuff out in an email afterwards. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and tell your friends and like this video. We're trying to get our word out. We're trying to share our obsession with pizza making with all of you, and that would be a big help. Tell your friends. And so let's get into New York dough. This is a brand new recipe for us. We're kind of it's a play off of our original 72-hour dough. It's got a few more ingredients, another step or two, but the idea is we're going to make the dough. We're going to really structure that gluten a little bit more than our traditional like no knead dough, because we do not want this one to balloon up with big bubbles for our New York style. We want to do this a little bit more traditional. And so to do that, we got to follow a couple of more steps. All right. So let's get right into this, our New York style dough. I'm going to shout out all the rest of the ingredients as I go. So here we go. Let's do this. And drop your questions in the box and I'll get to them when we have pauses. If I don't get to it, just rewrite it again. And again, at the end of today, whoever's still here and I pick your name, you're winning an 8-pack of this sauce. It's phenomenal. All right, so here is our flour. And we got our baking steel dough container. These are great, love them. I have bread flour, 500 grams of bread flour in this container. We like bread flour over all-purpose. This has got a little bit more gluten, if you will, inside, a little bit more structure. It's awesome. So now I'm going to do is add in my ingredients. First, I'm going to add in 15 grams of sea salt. I'm going to pour each ingredient into my palm just so you can see the idea. Oh, that's sugar. Oops. We'll do that one next. Let's do the sea salt first. Sea salt, 15 grams of sea salt. Okay. I just put this in my dough, my flour, and I whisk it around. This is super easy to do. However, very similar to what we usually do. Now I'm going to add my sugar. This is cane sugar, organic. And again, this is 10 grams of sugar. I whisk this around. And this is a 24-hour dough, everybody. You can do it a little bit longer if you like to, but this recipe was developed for 24 hours. Trying to simplify it a little bit without sacrificing any flavor. Active dry yeast, 1 gram. Dump that in and then whisk it around. I like these containers because I'm keeping everything kind of contained inside, right? And now I'm going to do my water. I drink reverse osmosis water. This is 325 grams of water. So it's a little bit less than our traditional dough because we want a little bit more sturdy pizza with the New York style. So I'm using a little bit of the water, pour that in. And now I'm just going to kind of mix this around my dough scraper. I want to hydrate my flour and my water together before I add in my olive oil. And I'll repeat all these ingredients. It's 500 grams of flour, 15 grams of sea salt, 10 grams of organic sugar. You could use a little honey too if you'd like. And then 1 gram of yeast. And I'm going to add in 10 grams of olive oil as my last step. And careful, I'm going to keep one hand dry and one hand's going to get a little messy in it, okay? So now I'm going to just kind of lightly press. I'm going to dump all this out because this dough does require more kneading than our typical dough. I scrape out my bowl right? Put that aside, have my assistant clean that for us. And now I'm gonna press this dough together. And I might want to do this for about 3 or 4 minutes. And typically, if I'm using a mixer, same principles apply. And you can see how dry this dough is right now. It hasn't really hydrated from the water. So the more I press in, the more that flour and water are coming into contact, and you're going to start to see the dough hydrate and get a little bit sticky. It's the same thing with our 72-hour dough. Really put some heat into this thing, right? And really pressing down to get all the dry clumps out. It's still on the dry side, but starting to see a little bit of moisture, right? So it's hydrating. It's starting to hydrate a little bit. I'm gonna keep mixing till my hands get really sticky. These dough scrapers come in real handy. Just kind of scrape underneath and press. A good workout too. Starting to, you see, it's starting to take shape. Flour here, stick that underneath there, just kind of press into it. Right? All right, now we've got, you can see how it's getting a little bit moist. It's getting a little sticky. I'm gonna just do another 30 seconds or so. You can see it's starting to stick to my palm just a little bit. That's what we want. We want to get a little sticky. Am I breathing heavy? Good workout. All right, now it's got some moisture in it. Okay, so now I'm gonna make a little hole, add in 10 grams of olive oil. Okay. And what this is gonna do now is once the dough is hydrated, which was a little sticky, now I'm adding my olive oil and we're gonna lube up those gluten strands to give this thing a little bit of texture, similar to our English muffins. We add the oil last so the water and flour can combine together nicely. And then we add the oil last because we want the oil to now seep into those strands and create a nice, really nice New York style dough. And this dough is gonna look a little different, right? Look at that, it's starting to take shape. Okay, so now I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna put it into my dough container, okay? And cover it up for 30 minutes. I mixed that for about 5 minutes. I don't know how long that was, but probably 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. Okay. Oil goes in last. Now, here's the trick. Here's what we're going to do. Because we don't want this to be like our traditional dough. We want New York style. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold the dough a few times. I'm going to show you how I do that. And what we're doing here, kind of like a baguette, we're folding it, right, and creating a little bit of structure for the gluten. And so it's gonna have a little bit more bite than our traditional pizza dough, not gonna blow up as much. And let's show you how I fold it. So I'm gonna do this, I did this last night like 2 or 3 times. After my initial mix, I let the dough rest for 30 minutes. And then what I'll do is I'll fold it. And then 30 minutes again, I'll fold again, and I'll do that 2 or 3 times. And then we'll let the dough ferment. So let's go through one of the processes where I say fold, like what does that mean? Let's take a look. I made a batch earlier today, you can see this. This was already folded 1 time. This is the same size I just made. Now what I'll do, I'll pick it up a little bit, just unstick it from the bowl, right? I'm literally just gonna fold it over itself. And then there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just layering, if you will, the flour, right, and the glutens together. Just kind of layering it together. That a couple of times. Again, no right or wrong answer. Right? You can see how smooth this dough is compared to the glutens are really starting to develop. It's a little bit smoother than our traditional no-knead dough, right? And this is like a New York style. So this is my second fold. Just kind of press it in, let that sit seam side down. We're gonna do that one more time in like 30 minutes. I'll probably do that after class. Cover that up. I'm back. We'll cover that up and we'll do that same series of folds 2 or 3 times. After the folding, I will take that dough. In fact, I did this yesterday. And I'll leave my dough out at room temperature overnight. This is a 24-hour New York style dough, and it is epic. Let's get to some questions before I tell you what I did today. That's all the work though, that's it. We're gonna ball it up and we're baking. So that's essentially the New York style dough recipe. Let me get to some questions here. All right, do you mineralize your reverse osmosis? Mitch, I do not. I just have the Amazon reverse osmosis filter in my studio here. And I have one at my home where I have a well. I just love the water. I think it purifies it really cleanly. Why do you wait to add the olive? Francine, great question. We hydrate the flour and the water together. So we want that water to get into those gluten strands, right? So it hydrates together. And you could feel it, literally feel it. It's after kneading it for 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, that dough starts to get sticky. Well, guess what? It's starting to really hydrate those gluten strands. When that's done, then we add the olive oil. Because if we added the olive oil earlier, it's going to get into those gluten strands earlier, and the gluten will not develop the same way as if we waited. So we tend to wait till the end of that process. How much water was added again? I did not catch up. Tony, great question. It was 500 grams of flour, 325 grams of water, and that equals 65% hydration. So it's a little less than our traditional 72-hour, which is a 70% hydration. And all you do is you divide the amount of water into the amount of flour for the hydration level. Yep, thank you guys for answering that, Allison and Brian. On your game, I love it. Would you recommend initial hand mixing over a stand mixer? Is there any benefit to activate the yeast first? Chris, great question. I do not activate my yeast first. If I'm making dough in the same day, then yes, I will activate it. But we prefer at minimum a 24-hour fermentation. So with that said, room temperature is fine. And I find when I use active dry yeast, I do not. In fact, here's my yeast I used. Fleischmann's active dry yeast. This little 100-gram container, 113. This lasts me a year, almost 6 months to a year. I do not hydrate it. This yeast is awesome. It works every single time. Fleischmann's. How long do you let the dough rest before the stretch and fold? Joanne, great question. I let the dough, after my initial mix, 30 minutes. Then I do the fold. 30 minutes again, fold again. 30 minutes seems to be a pretty good number. How many stretch and folds? So it was a total of 3 stretch and folds. That's it. All right, so that's the dough. The only thing I don't have is dough to ball up. However, after my 3 folds, I continue with this bulk fermentation. The next day, I take this dough, right? And what I do is I ball it up. This morning, I made 3 dough balls literally at 9 a.m. about 3 hours ago. I placed them in these oil delis, and you can see how it's proofing up, right? These are great to travel with. And it was probably about halfway. This is literally the entire dough. So each one of these is about 275, 280 grams. Literally divide them up by eyeball, put them in an oiled container, and let them proof at room temperature. So this is a 24-hour dough. We're going to make a pizza now with this in just a minute. Can't wait. Are there any other questions? Yes, Chris or Guy, the recipe will be posted on our blog on the email follow-up, which I think is going out on Friday. All right, awesome. I haven't tried a food processor with this dough. A kitchen mixer is great. 3, 4, 5 minutes. Mix, add the oil for 1 more minute. Boom, you're done. Ideal temperature for room. Great question. So ideal temperature for me is about 70 degrees. I know it's a little bit cooler now. I don't really blast my heat. So my room temperature in the winter is about 68. I hope that helps. A little warm. All right, so that is the, I'm gonna pause this recording. Thank you, I'm gonna end this one too. Thank you, that's our New York style dough. Andrus signing out from the Baking Steel studio. Stay tuned for part 2, making the pizza with the New York style. Gonna be amazing. All right, here we go. Andrus here, live from the Baking Steel studio. We are making New York style pizza with our New York style dough, with our friends Bianco di Napoli gave us this incredible organic New York style pizza sauce. It's really good. Crushed tomatoes with their little twist of other ingredients. And let's read them off to you. Organic tomatoes, organic puree, virgin oil, salt, a little bit of basil, a little bit of organic garlic, and a little bit of citric acid to give it that shelf life. Amazing stuff, guys. And we're giving one set away, 8-pack of this away to somebody here today. Incredible. Can't wait to get this to you. And this weekend, even more, we're doing something special with these guys. So stay tuned. It's gonna be really fun. Awesome. All right. I'm gonna get to these questions afterwards. Let's make a pizza. Then we'll get into all the other questions we have, and I'll answer all of them, I promise. Let's go. So I'm gonna take this dough again. This dough was balled up and made at 9 a.m. The dough was made yesterday. I made these dough balls this morning around 9 a.m. It's been about 3 hours. You can see they're really starting to proof up. They're awesome, right? Let's make New York style. Our ingredients. Okay, I have the dough. I have cheese. I have mozzarella fresh. I'm sorry, not fresh. It's whole milk. This is dry, like dry mozzarella. I have part skim and whole milk. And these are amazing. And I shred them, we shred our cheese ourselves, right? We guys, if you've been with us long enough, we know we shred our cheese. Each of these strands, if you buy them pre-shredded, are coated with starch. So we eliminate that by shredding it ourselves. It's just natural cheese. Low moisture mozzarella, part skim and whole milk. And I get this at Trader Joe's, by the way. Phenomenal stuff. If you notice, I shredded this, I put it in the fridge for the last 20 or 30 minutes just to get it nice and cold. It'll slow down the cooking process a little bit. Guys, the sauce is super easy today. I'm using Bianco di Napoli tomato sauce. And this is their organic crushed tomatoes with just a little bit of ingredients to give it that New York style, which typically a little bit of garlic and a little bit of basil. That's it, a little bit of olive oil. And how do you know if your tomatoes taste good? You're using canned, which again, they have a great canned product as well. See this? It's a weird reflection, but there you go. This is my typical go-to crushed tomatoes. I add sea salt. That's it. And how do you know it? How do you know your tomatoes are going to taste good on the pizza? Well, guess what? We taste them on our. We taste them first. They don't taste good out of the can or out of this, these containers. Not going to taste good on the pizza. Always taste your food as you're going. We know from experience, Bianco di Napoli tomatoes rock. These are amazing. And by the way, wait till you taste. Right? Unfortunately, you can't taste this pizza today. I can. It's going to be so good. All right, let's get into making pizza. Let's do this. 150 degrees. Little flour goes down. A little bit of semolina flour goes down. My dough. My baking steel peel. This is the 12-inch peel, guys. This is the one Steve's getting. I meant to send you already, Steve. This peel rocks. It's my favorite. It's my go-to. It's like a great size, very maneuverable. So a little bit of semolina flour on top. Less is more, but in the beginning, it's better to have a little bit more when pizza gets off. So you dust it off and you put your peel aside. And you put your dough right down in a container. Boom. Look at that, huh? Impressed? Coat both sides. This dough is not going to be as light and airy as our traditional dough because we've folded it more. So it's got a little bit more structure than our traditional pizza dough does, which is okay, right? So we press it out, those air bubbles out. And I am gonna knock the air bubbles out of this because I don't want bubbles on my New York style, or not a lot, not an abundance of them. I just make sure I keep flipping it over. And it still feels like a cloud. It still feels amazing. It's been processed, I mean, sitting here for 3 hours, so it's pretty supple still. I got some oil in here, so it's gonna be a little bit more structure to it. I can feel the difference for sure. Just keep pressing it out, right? And I could kind of work around the perimeter, trying to grow it, being patient. I don't want to stretch it and rip the glutens out. I'm just being patient. It's a little bit on the cool side, but it's pretty good. It's good to stretch. Right? Just kind of be patient, press it out. Looks nice, doesn't it? And again, as it gets a little bit bigger, I can start to use my back of my knuckles. It's a little bit more structure because of those folds that we did earlier, right? Those folds do make a difference. Just like when we're making baguettes, right? Start to see it. This is probably about 5 inches right now. We want to get to about 9. A real New York style would be like me using the baking steel pro and getting it to 16 inches to bigger dough, but we're not doing that today. I do have a pro, but not in my oven. See that, right? It's getting there. And now we're about 6 or 7 inches. I'm gonna go a little bit more. Typically gonna be thinner crust, right? Just stretching, being patient, not forcing anything. Look at that, right? It's getting there. Got a little bubble there. I'm probably gonna get rid of the bubble. Again, just kind of grabbing around the perimeter. That looked nice. Getting there, right? You can feel this dough. It's stretching slowly. Cute little, isn't it? It's really nice. Awesome. So now I'm gonna grab my peel. Place my dough on top, right? I've got some bubbles. I'm gonna get rid of the bubbles, guys. I know it's like taboo for me, but I'm gonna get rid of my bubbles. I'm still stretching the outer perimeter a little bit. Before I do anything else, before I put my sauce or my cheese on, I'm gonna give it a jiggle. This dough should be sliding back and forth like a puck. That's because I have these ball bearings underneath it. That's really critical. It's really important. If it gets stuck, this is the time to fix it. So I would pick it up. I would add a little bit of semolina flour underneath where it's getting stuck, and then place my dough back on top. Okay, that's really important. This is a really important time to do this. I have some bubbles that are forming on me. It's all right. I might leave a couple little baby bubbles, right? Now let's talk sauce. Bianco di Napoli sauce. We're gonna go right on top again. Let me grab a spoon because I still want to spoon this on. Oh, that color is incredible, right? I bring my sauce close to the edge, but not over the edge. Just like life. A good amount of sauce, right? And remember, there's a lot of moisture in the sauce. So if I put too much sauce, the dough's gonna have a hard time to cook. So less is more. I'm gonna use a little bit of the skim. I'm gonna use the whole milk. I like this combination. One tends to brown a little bit faster than the other. So we just be boom. That's simple, right? Simple. Less is more. My dough's still sliding like a puck. It's awesome. All right, my pizza's ready. It's sliding like a puck. My baking steel's in my oven, preheating at actually it was at 450, but I went at 500, just upped it. I'm gonna still go in the oven at 450. It's really hot. I'm not going to use the broiler. We're doing a straight bake today. This might take 6 or 7 minutes. It'll be a perfect time to answer your questions in between. Let's go into the oven. I'm gonna show you how I launch. You can see, and then we'll get. So let's do this. Got this. All right, you guys ready for this? My steel in the bottom shelf. I'm using the bottom shelf today. Back of the peel to the back of the steel. Just launch it on, slide it in, boom. Real simple. There was no reason for me to use the bottom steel over the top steel. It was just a choice because it was easier, a little easier to launch it in there. And that's our pizza in the oven. Let me put my timer on. I'm setting the timer for 5 minutes. It's gonna probably take about 6 or 7 to bake it. So I think 5, I'll rotate it a little bit, maybe even before then. Just wanted to give it a timer because that's super important. Dough looks beautiful. Yeah, so Lauren, thank you. Do you ever roll it out? So let me get to Francine first. Do I ever roll it out with a rolling pin? Yes. If I'm making thin crust and I don't want any bubbles, I will use a rolling pin and I'll squish the living daylights out of that dough, get rid of all the bubbles and have a really thin crust. It's awesome. That's probably the only time I'll use a rolling pin, and that and pie dough also. The dough looks beautiful. I can't wait to try it. Thanks, Lauren. So this dough is going to be different than our 72-hour dough. One, it's got a little bit, it has a little sugar, has a little oil, and a less hydration. But also, more importantly, it's got those folds that were, that's new for us. We're typically mixing and letting it proof for 24 hours to 72 hours. This time we're mixing and we're folding. So we've added some steps. Every 30 minutes, we're folding it just to create some layers of the gluten to give it a little bit more structure and texture. As you'll see when it comes out of the oven, you could probably see as I was stretching, it's a little bit different. It's a different dough. I love yeah, I'm with you too. I kept some bubbles in there too, if you've noticed. It looks divine. Thanks, Brenda. It is awesome. John's asking, why do I have the oven at 450 rather than 550? Actually, John, it's funny. I'm so used to preheating at 450 because I love to use the broiler. And when I'm using the broiler and my oven's only at 450, this is electric, it will typically go on instantaneously. If I'm at 550 or 500 or 550 and I switch to broil, the oven's gonna cool before it kicks in, before the broiler kicks in. So I kind of trick it by saying, hey, I'm not that hot yet. Broiler will go on right away. That's the only reason. So New York style, I should have kept that oven at 500. So it's gonna, slowly climb back up. So yeah, Ryan, that's what I do. So preheating it for New York style, I would preheat my oven at 500 for at least an hour, 45 minutes to an hour for my pizzas. I like my steels. It's gonna get hotter. The steel surface will get hot quicker than an hour, but I want that heat inside of that steel every square centimeter. So it's edge to edge, 500 degrees. That's what's going to help that heat transfer. Right, that makes sense. Yeah, it's climbing back up to Ryan. It's at 467 now. It was at 450. You're right when I launched, but now it's back up. Awesome, thank you. All right, I was late for the meeting. Can I watch the video? Yes, great question, Edith. We're doing this recording everything. It'll be 2 parts. Dough and then pizza. Everything will be here. Recipe for the dough first, and then this one we just made pizza with our favorite sauce, Bianco di Napoli. It's amazing, and I love it. It's so easy because it's like pre-made. Kind of makes life a little bit easier, less messy too. Highly recommend that stuff. Oh, great question, Lauren. Do I brush the crust with anything? I do not. I do know a lot of people will brush it with olive oil just to add a little bit of flavor, a little bit of color, a little bit of texture. I do not though, but you could technically oil it up, and I've seen people put seeds down on it just for a little added texture, flavor. It depends on your style. The round proofing containers are how big? So this is it's a rectangle. This is our baking steel dough containers. Gosh, I forget how much they can hold. I do 1,000 grams, so I double the batch in here all the time, and nice because I go back and forth from my home to my studio. These are nice because the dough doesn't spill out. I love them. They're great. So we got a minute left. Let's go take a peek inside the oven while we got you. All right, so let's take a peek. Look at that, huh? Isn't that gorgeous? Right? Underneath, cooking really nice, guy. It looks really beautiful. It's got a couple more minutes to go. That's been about 4.5 minutes. Let's get that thing going. So it's a little different, more traditional style pizza. It's gonna be amazing. Oh, the size of these. We call these delis. These are like deli, you can get them on Amazon. I buy 50 packs, right? They're 2-cup delis. These are phenomenal for, dough. I'm gonna have leftover cheese here today, so I can take one of my delis and put my shredded cheese into my deli and have that available to me tomorrow. Or anything else about it. I'll even put my sauce in these after a session so I can have them. They're reusable too, so I can wash these and use them again. So they're really nice to have. Amazon 2-cup delis. Yum. Yeah, I know what we're having tomorrow. Christina, love it. Good. Any other questions while I got you guys here before this pizza comes out? Yeah, it's going to be incredible. New York style on the baking steel. Phenomenal, guys. Got about another 2 minutes left. Let me turn my oven, make sure it's not too brown. Oh, it looks so good. Traditionally, like the New York pizzas are bigger, right? I'm making a 10, 11-inch pizza, like a personal size. New York style, we have a Baking Steel Pro, which is 16 inches wide. We've got a peel that's 16 inches wide. It's massive. It's super heavy. It's 28 pounds. It's probably my #1 return steel. We don't get a lot of them. Well, I shouldn't say return, but exchanged, because people get it and it's such a beast. It's 28 pounds. Like, whoa, I didn't mean to get this. Can I get the original steel instead? So if you're interested in the Pro, remember it's 16 inches deep by 16 inches wide. It's 3/8. It's 28 pounds. It's massive and heavy. However, with that, you can make massively good, like New York style pizzas at home, which is phenomenal. What is the longest you will proof the dough? Great question, Alan. Typically, I do 24 hours at room temperature, and then I put it into the fridge up to about 3 or 4 days. Typically, that's my wheelhouse. Now, after that, I might turn that same dough into breads, but typically with my planning, when I'm making dough for the week, I use 3 or 4 days tops. That's great. Oh, my question, I use the Baking Steel Pro. I love it, John. So you do have the Baking Steel Pro. You know what I'm saying? It's heavy. It's a beast. It's awesome. It's more sauce, more cheese, bigger pizza, bigger slices. In fact, my son was commenting this morning on the dough. He's like, Dad, can you make bigger pizzas, please? And so I need to put the Pro in the oven and make the pizzas with that. At which stage would you freeze the dough? Great question, Francine. If I'm freezing the dough, like at 9 a.m. this morning, I made dough balls, and at that point, I would put these right into the freezer. That's the time to do it. Let's grab this pizza, guys. I'll show you what it looks like. Oh my goodness. You guys can see. I'm gonna show you a picture of this in top down. It looks so really worth the effort to make it a little different. You can see, not great. So no broiler. I probably got a little, almost too dark on top, but I like that. It's really crispy. Like it's like stiff. You can see underneath, right? Not awesome looking. Right? Oh my goodness. It's gonna slice up so nice. And it's a different style, right? It's a little different. It's got a little bit more unique, right? Isn't that gorgeous? Underneath, dark, right? Crisped up. That was probably 7 minutes, 6.5, 7 minutes. That's probably all it took. Look at that. Right? It smells amazing. I could have added some oregano on top if you'd like. I don't know if that's traditional in Europe. Some basil now would be a good finish for that. Incredible. So Ryan, this total bake was probably almost 7 minutes, 6 to 7 minutes. I didn't time it exactly. Pretty much the wheelhouse for New York style at 500 degrees. I mean, I probably could have pulled it out a little bit sooner, to be honest, but I like the colors of the cheese. It looks great. Yeah, Andrea, I think I like that. Yeah, my son does. I know that's for sure. The purists are gonna like this better. That fold, it's got more structure, it looks more traditional, and it's really good. It's got a really nice flavor. That olive oil and the texture is definitely unique to the 72. It's different. It's even though we're using essentially the same ingredients, it's different. It's amazing what like a little tweak here and there in a recipe can do. Yes, this is 65% hydration, correct, and a 6 to 7 minute bake. Absolutely, it's right on. Use sugar to shorten the bulk ferment. So yeah, John, so I used a little bit of sugar because I knew I was only doing a 24-hour ferment. A little bit of sugar is going to add a little bit of flavor to the dough that you would get in a natural fermentation over a longer period. Probably helps a little bit with the color as well. I've been doing 550, gonna try, yeah. So Ryan, yeah, I did 500. I think 550 may have been almost too hot with my steels inside. Maybe even like 475, but I'm really happy with the way this thing looks. I mean, it looks phenomenal. Great to do it live. Man, we pulled it off. It's always a treat. How long does the chew compare to the real New York dough? How does the chew compare? So a real New York slice is going to be bigger, right? I love the thinness. I do love it. This chew is going to be really good, guys. This is like a really good recipe, very traditional, very compared to any other New York style doughs. We made one a few years back, Craig and I, and we used a little bit of honey, Mike's honey in the dough. It was awesome. We just tweaked it just a little bit more, and using traditional cheeses, traditional shredding, making it look a little bit more traditional. It's phenomenal. You'll love it. Have you found a whole wheat recipe that works? So Guy, great question. If I wanted to do whole wheat, instead of 500 grams of bread flour, I'll use 400 grams of bread flour and 100 grams of whole wheat inside. So in other words, adding 20% of that whole wheat into the flour batch. That's pretty much the max I like. Otherwise it gets too dry and it changes the hydration quite a bit. So that's really my wheelhouse when I'm doing whole wheat. Just put a portion of whole wheat into the dough, not the entire batch. Have you ever tried using a baking steel in an uni pizza oven? I often start my pizza in the uni at 750, then transfer it to the steel. Roger, great question. I know a lot of people that do just that. Even the Gosney too. They'll start it on the steel or on the uni or in the Gosney and then put it into the home oven on the steel to finish it. A lot of people do that. A steel inside of an uni, we do sell one, and I know a lot of people buy them. Not huge mover for us, but people do like having the steel because it rebounds faster than a traditional stone would inside. So if you're making multiple pizzas, it's better. I wouldn't say better because I don't know the product that well, but it's nice to have a steel inside. And Patricia's asking, do I ever use 00 flour? I do, and I prefer bread flour in my home oven at 500 degrees using a baking steel. Now, you could ask, I know like Alexander Stafford, who loves the baking steel, she prefers 00 flour, and she's awesome. She's amazing. Her food and her work, her new book, Pizza Night. I think we got one here. Good for your Christmas list, Pizza Night by Alexander Stafford. Great book. She loves 00. She likes bread flour too, but her preference is 00. So my point is that explore and try taking the different adventures and trying different ways of making it. I know some chefs that will combine 00 and bread flour, 50-50, boom, right? That's their recipe. So everybody's unique and everyone's gonna have a little different spin on the ingredients, but you can see there's very little differences. It's like nuance that makes these things a little different. But isn't that gorgeous? Can't wait to devour that. Thank you for your help. You got it, Alan. Does anybody else have any questions before we sign off? And before, 15 grams teaspoon. To answer that question, I use a micro scale for all my ingredients. I can say it's a teaspoon, but I'm not going to be accurate because everyone has a different way of measuring a teaspoon. This is like a $10 scale. It's called Salter on on Amazon. It just measures to the 1/100th of a gram, which is phenomenal. So I recommend getting one of these for all of your ingredients. It's easier to travel with this thing too. And I use a bigger scale for my bigger ingredients, like my waters and my flours. This is a product called, it's a brand called My Way, and it's great scale. I love it. I had it forever too. They're like 30 or 40 bucks. Is it okay to use a big pizza on the Pro for a few minutes to cook the pizza, flip it, and then add ingredients? Oh, so you want to like par cook it? Yeah, that's not a bad idea, John. I know some people that do. I have tried. In fact, we did a post on that not that long. When do you cheese your pizza? I typically will do some. I mean, it's all at one time. However, I do know some people will start with the dough and then they'll add the cheese afterwards. It's just it's a different texture. Not gonna get the same like brownness on the cheese. Be a little bit more creamy. Dealer's choice. Note for the video. Did you get the address? Steve, can you email me? Oh, no worries. So it's Andris, Andris at bakingsteel.com. And if you forget that, just put info@bakingsteel.com and I'll get it to you. I'll get that. Someone will send that to me. And we'll get you that peel sitting over here for you. I've seen Bianco products at Whole Foods and Amazon. Tony, yes, they are amazing. In fact, we're going to give one away. I'm picking someone randomly right now. This is a crushed tomato product. This is their tomato sauce product. They have a whole tomato product where you crush it yourself. All organic, all phenomenal. The flavors are incredible. Yeah, so Edith, can I bake the crust and then share that, save that, cryovac it, and use it again later? I do know some people who do that. They par bake their crusts. It's not a bad idea. I think there's a product called like Baboli that you could buy in the markets in fact, I bought it a few times. We'd buy that and just top it with pizzas. It's kind of nice. All right, ready? Do we have Christine Mank, M-A-N-C-K? Christine, are you still here? Oh, yes, that's you. Awesome. Awesome, Christine. So can you email me info or Andris at Baking Steel, and I'll be sure to get you an 8-pack of this stuff. It's incredible. And if anybody doesn't have a steel yet, and you're here, this weekend we're doing something pretty special for anybody who buys a steel with Bianco di Napoli. It's going to be really fun. And so just keep that in mind. If you're thinking about buying one, it might be a great time to buy one. It's always a great time, but it's gonna be a really fun project, and the tomatoes are phenomenal, and we've teamed up with them. It's great. Amazing. Congrats, Christine. I love it. So happy about that. Great. You guys are amazing. Thank you for being here again. It's Andris. I'm out. A New York style pizza recipe is dropped. It's phenomenal. If you guys make it, be sure to tag us on Instagram or Facebook. We want to share them. Send me the pictures. You have my email address, Andris at Baking Steel. And for now, I am out of here and grateful for all of you. Thanks, guys. Bye.